A thief came into my house and hid in the closet. This is what I saw on the surveillance footage. I didn't dare call the police because I had a corpse hidden in the closet. My name is Leo, and I am a thief. Every day, I go to the nearby residential complex and distribute flyers on every floor. I like to roll the flyers into a cylindrical shape, then wedge them on the resident's doorknob. After a day or two, I'll come back to check my flyers. If the flyers are still there, it means the resident hasn't been back for several days. Then this household is my target. Apartment 201, Building 4, GUN Residential Complex is my target for today. The flyer on the doorknob is the one I put here 3 days ago. 3 days have passed, and the flyer still looks exactly as it did 3 days ago. I put on my hat, mask, gloves, and shoe covers. Then I took the tools out of my bag and skillfully opened the door. The room was filled with a fresh, pleasant scent that smelled so nice. I gently closed the door, then began to take in the layout of the room. It's my habit to familiarize myself with the interior of a house. It helps to deal with unexpected situations. This is a standard studio apartment. The bathroom is next to the kitchen, and there's a security grill on the balcony. There is only one toothbrush cup in the bathroom. The shoe cabinet was filled with women's shoes. I could conclude she was a single woman living alone. Since she was a woman, my primary target was naturally her jewelry. If there were any valuable electronics, that would be even better. After all, in this day and age, few people keep cash at home anymore. I found a jewelry box in the bedside drawer. 2 bracelets, a necklace, 2 studs, and a ring. All of them are pure gold. I stuffed everything into my pocket, finally feeling the trip had been worthwhile. Experience has taught me a truth. Know when to quit while you're ahead. So I closed the drawer and prepared to leave. But just as I reached the doorway, I actually heard the sound of a key turning in the lock. I felt a jolt of cold run across my scalp. In a panic, I quickly retreated to the corner and hid inside the wardrobe. After all, it was the only place in the whole room where someone could hide. I shut the wardrobe door and let out a long breath. I listened to the sounds at the door while thinking over a plan in my head. I heard the sound of the door closing, then the click of high heels. So the homeowner really was a woman, because the closet was in the corner of the room and it faced directly toward the doorway. Through the gap in the wardrobe door, I could just make out the whole room. I saw a woman, meticulously dressed, walk into the room. She put down her handbag, changed into slippers, took off her coat, and hung it on the drying rack. Then she walked straight toward the wardrobe. I thought to myself, oh no, this was going to be a direct run-in with a woman. Fortunately, the woman opened the left sliding door of the wardrobe, and I was hiding at the very right side of the wardrobe. I crouched down, hidden by the clothing, and the woman didn't notice me. The woman took a casual jacket from the wardrobe and put it on, then closed the wardrobe door. I wiped the cold sweat from my brow. Luckily, it was just a false alarm. The woman went into the kitchen and washed an apple for herself. Then she turned on the TV and sat down on the sofa. A gardening and flower care program was playing on the television. The woman watched the TV while eating an apple. I hid in the closet, not daring to breathe heavily. I was waiting for an opportunity to leave. I've already prepared for the worst. At most, I'll just dash straight out. As long as the woman doesn't see me like this, it's fine. But doing that will inevitably alert the neighbors. If the woman calls the police, they'll easily be able to trace me through the nearby surveillance cameras. So it would be best to leave without anyone noticing. Given the current situation, either when the woman goes into the bathroom, or else I'll have to wait until she falls asleep. As I quietly waited for the right moment, suddenly my phone gave a faint buzz. Someone sent me a text message. I slowly pulled out my phone and glanced at it. It was from my buddy Vincent. Where are you working today? Any good clients, send a few my way. Vincent and I are in the same line of work, and we often share clients with each other. Sometimes in one building you'll run into several targets in a row. When I'm too busy to handle them all, I call Vincent to help. I quickly sent Vincent a text. Emergency help from the underworld. The client came home. I'm trapped in the house. Soon Vincent sent another message. Did the client catch you in the act? No. I'm hiding in the wardrobe. The client hasn't found me yet. I used my phone to take a picture through the crack in the wardrobe door of the woman sitting on the sofa and sent it to Vincent. Nice-looking client, huh? You never thought of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Shut up and get over here. Help me out. Think of a way to lure the woman outside. Then I sent Vincent the woman's address. This is urgent. I'll buy you a drink tonight. Vincent replied, on my way. And then there was no further news. The woman threw away the uneaten apple. She then stood up, walked to the liquor cabinet, took out 2 wine glasses, and poured 2 glasses of red wine. I was stunned when I looked back. Why were there 2 wine glasses? And I even saw her pour sleeping pills into one of the glasses. A whole bottle of sleeping pills. The woman set the 2 glasses on the coffee table, then glanced at her watch. She seemed to be waiting for someone. Just then, I heard a knock at the door. I had been wondering if it might be Vincent, but he shouldn't have been back so soon. The woman stared in the direction of the door, pausing for about 2 seconds. Then she walked over slowly and opened the door. Standing in the doorway was a middle-aged man, not Vincent. The man was holding a bouquet of roses and looked at the woman with a smiling face. Jing Jing, you've been waiting for me a long time, haven't you? The man gave the woman the flowers, and the woman bashfully led him into the house. Come in quickly, I just bought some red wine. Come and try it. As the woman pulled the man inside, I noticed she had casually locked the door with her key. The woman linked her arm with the man's and led him to the table. She then handed the man the glass of red wine that contained sleeping pills. The man drained the wine in one gulp, then began pawing at the woman. I hid in the closet, my feelings a tangle. I only meant to go into the house to steal something. I never expected to run into a scene like this. The key thing is the woman drugged the man. If things go wrong, I could become a witness to a murder. I don't know how much time had passed. The man had already lost consciousness. The woman dragged a plastic tub from the kitchen, a very large plastic tub, large enough to hold a person. The woman placed the plastic tub at the foot of the bed, directly in front of the wardrobe door. Then the woman shoved the man into the tub and stripped the clothes off his body. What chilled me even more was this. The woman also fetched a chainsaw and a kitchen knife. I will never forget the scenes that followed in my life. The woman, almost before my eyes, dismembered the man. The buzzing of the chainsaw made my scalp prickle. The bloody, pulpy liquid in the tank made me nauseous. The woman packed the reduced pieces of corpse into plastic bags. Then she placed them, bag by bag, into the freezer on the balcony. At that moment, I couldn't care about anything else. All I wanted was to get away from there as fast as possible. But the damn thing was that the wardrobe door seemed to be stuck. No matter how I pushed, it wouldn't budge. Just then, my phone vibrated slightly again. It was a text from Vincent. You guys doing all right over there? I hurriedly replied. The closet door won't open. I'm trapped inside and can't get out. Did that woman find you? Not yet. That woman is a lunatic. Vincent didn't reply. I hurriedly asked again. Where did you go? I'm already here. Here yet? Where are you? I'm above your head. My heart suddenly tightened. I jerked my head up, using the light seeping through the gap in the wardrobe door. I saw a twisted, grotesque face staring down at me, fixedly. It was Vincent's face. Vincent's face was motionless, eyes wide with rage, mouth agape. Through the gap in the hanging clothes, I saw a rope tied around his neck. The upper end of the rope was fastened to the clothes rail at the top of the wardrobe. I could hardly imagine it. Vincent had actually been dead in the very wardrobe I was hiding in all along, and his corpse was hanging right behind me. What chilled me even more was that pressed against the gap of the wardrobe door, there was an eye. The woman had already come to the door. She had discovered me long ago. I quickly fished a defensive dagger out of my pocket. But before I could react, a sudden, sharp pain erupted in my chest, accompanied by the buzzing sound of chainsaw. The blade slipped through the crack in the door and into my body. My name is Jade, because actually I'm a serial killer. I'm a beautiful woman with a good figure and looks. Beautiful? Huh. Actually, I am a man. I have a slim build. My features are delicate. I also have a voice capable of producing the soft, delicate tones of a woman. These facial and bodily features were ordained by fate. Yet there was a time when, because of them, I endured mockery and exclusion from those around me. So I came to a new city, relying on my innate attributes. I changed my appearance and disguised myself as a woman. I disguised myself as a woman. A beautiful woman with a stunning image and presence. As everyone knows, the identity of a beautiful woman can bring many conveniences in life. At least for me, this outfit and makeup made me far more popular than before. More importantly, it can help conceal the identity of the murderer. I especially like growing flowers. So I opened a flower shop downstairs. Because of my striking appearance and sweet voice, there is never a shortage of male customers at the flower shop. Of course, their purpose for coming to the shop isn't purely to buy flowers. They're all men, I naturally understand. I like killing people. The thrill of killing gives me an unprecedented sense of satisfaction. More importantly, I like turning corpses into fertilizer. Then I use it to cultivate the flowers and plants in the shop. Because corpses are rich in the nutrients plants need. Greener and more environmentally friendly than chemical fertilizers. I like flowers and plants because their tranquility soothes me. I hate animals because their restlessness makes me agitated. So I like to turn animals into spring soil to protect the flowers. I once tried catching stray cats and dogs to make fertilizer for my flowers. But their fur was too much and really hard to clean. By comparison, killing people was easier. So later, I replaced animals with humans as the raw material for the fertilizer. The first person I killed was a female colleague I once had a crush on. She was pretty. She was my first love. Back when I still presented myself as a man, I pursued her. But at the time, she never once looked me in the face. She even went around telling everyone I was effeminate and had no manliness at all. Because of that, I was ridiculed by everyone in the company. Afterward, I quietly killed her. I took the jewelry she was wearing, and I also dismembered her. I turned her bones into fertilizer for flowers, and used it to cultivate a pot of roses. That pot of roses later grew very well. Even after I moved to a new city, I kept it with me. I felt it could bring me good luck, so I placed it on the stone step at the flower shop's entrance as the shop's treasure. Of course, I couldn't bear to sell it. I wanted to keep it forever. I want to look at it every day. Looking at it is like looking at her. But a month ago, my roses were killed. A drunk driver drove up the stone steps and crashed into my flowers. And the pot, soil and all, was swept under the vehicle and crushed to bits. The driver immediately compensated me at the time and asked to settle it privately. Although outwardly, I did not pursue his responsibility. In my heart, I had already sentenced him to death. He didn't just smash a potted plant to death. Anyone I sentence to die is sure to have only a short time left. It's been several months since the last time I killed someone. My heart was beginning to itch faintly. More importantly, the stockpile of flower fertilizer I have won't last much longer. I need to make a new batch of fertilizer as soon as possible. This time I plan to kill 3 at once. That way, one batch of fertilizer will last at least half a year. I don't usually single anyone out. That driver was just an exception. After all, he ran over my roses. Because of what happened last time, I agreed to settle it with him privately. He dropped by my flower shop every few days to thank me. As time went on, he began to show his favor toward me again and again. I naturally understood what he had in mind. I had looked into his background. His name was Gary. He owned a dog meat hot pot restaurant nearby. He had a family, so every time he came to my shop, it was furtive. In any case, sooner or later, I was going to make my move on him. Might as well give him a chance. So I asked him to come to my place on Saturday to drink red wine. I told him to bring me a bouquet of roses when he came, as compensation for the roses he had knocked over and killed. I also stressed to him again not to be seen by anyone when he came. He already had a family, so on that point he was naturally even more cautious than I was. Counting Gary, that still left 2 more to go. Of course, I never lack prey. My prey usually come to my door of their own accord. What kind of prey comes to your door of their own accord? Why, only thieves. There are many advantages to using thieves as prey. First, thieves come uninvited, saving me the trouble of scouting targets myself. Second, before committing a crime, thieves will do their best to avoid neighborhood surveillance, so ordinary people find it hard to trace their movements. Third, thieves will take every precaution they can, such as wearing hats, masks, gloves, and shoe covers. They will do everything possible to avoid leaving traces that they were in a resident's home. And I was, in fact, hoping they would. Having the above three conditions greatly reduces the risk of my being exposed after a killing. This may well be the secret to my repeatedly escaping the law as a serial killer. Before committing a crime, a thief will usually do some reconnaissance. And the way they case a place is usually by slipping flyers onto the residents' door handles. This trick is already ancient. Whenever I see a flyer on my doorknob, I get unusually excited. Of course, not all flyers are necessarily left by thieves. All I could do was try my best not to let the flyer fall off the doorknob. Every day, I looked forward to a thief coming to visit my house. Half a month ago, flyers finally started appearing on my doorknob again. I was overjoyed. At last, prey was going to be delivered to my door. Every time I go out, I carefully secure the flyers. I wait for the prey to take the bait. Because I once had a cat, I installed surveillance at home. Later, my cat always liked to steal the materials I made into fertilizer for the flowers. So I killed the cat and turned it into fertilizer for the flowers. The home surveillance system, however, is still in use to this day. It's a high-definition camera with automatic zoom. It can automatically detect and track moving targets. As soon as someone enters the house, the surveillance system sends me an alert via the phone cloud. So the moment a prey arrives at the door, I can know immediately. I was looking forward to this encounter with the new prey. However, several days passed, and my prey still hadn't made a move. Could it be that he's been busy with work and just hasn't had time for me? Or maybe the flyer on the doorknob really was just an ordinary sales advertisement. Forget it. I'll wait patiently. Being anxious won't help. Lately, a man named Vincent has been visiting my flower shop frequently. He liked to wander around the shop, looking this way and that. Sometimes he would hide behind a flower rack and sneak glances at me from time to time. Judging by the looks of it, he was cut from the same cloth as Gary. Because he came so often, he and I gradually became acquainted. I told him my name was Jade and that I wanted to be friends with him. He told me his name was Vincent, that he didn't have many hobbies, and that he also liked growing flowers and plants. He said he especially liked the flowers in my shop, so he often came by to take a look. Men's words are always so hypocritical. If I weren't a man myself, I almost would have believed him. But in any case, he really did take good care of my business. At first when he came, he only bought 1 or 2 pots of flowers. Later, to get close to me, whenever I had new flowers on the shelf, he would buy them all at once. Sometimes when I received a new batch of flower pots, he would make a special trip to come help me unload them. Because of Vincent's patronage, the flowers in the shop sold especially quickly. So much so that I ran out of potting soil even faster. How could this be? Without premium fertilizer, how could my plants and flowers thrive? Unfortunately, the prey I had waited so long for still hadn't shown up. If nothing else, I'll use this Vincent as a stand-in for now. I had already checked Vincent's background thoroughly. He came from out of town and had no real connections. No family or friends. Perfect prey for me. This morning, Vincent came to my flower shop as usual. He asked if any new flowers had arrived. I said not at the moment. To thank him for always looking after my business, I invited him upstairs to my home. Vincent agreed immediately upon hearing this. I saw a faint smile unintentionally appear at the corner of his mouth. He must have been waiting for this day for a long time. I led Vincent upstairs. After we went inside, I let Vincent watch TV for a while. A gardening and flower care program was playing on the television. It's my favorite show. Vincent complimented me for having an artistic flair. I laughed at him in my heart. Soon he'd be made into fertilizer for my flowers. I took 2 wine glasses from the liquor cabinet and a bottle of red wine. I filled the glasses to the brim. Then, while Vincent was watching TV, I quietly poured a bottle of sleeping pills into one of the glasses. I waited until all the sleeping pills had completely dissolved before handing the wine glass to Vincent. We clinked our glasses lightly. Vincent took a big sip, nodding repeatedly to indicate the taste was good. I told him to drink slowly, then, using the excuse of going to the kitchen to wash fruit, began preparing the tools for the crime. When I came out of the kitchen, the wine in the nearby glasses was already half gone. I brought out some fruit to serve Vincent. Vincent, however, seemed a bit listless. I asked him if he was feeling unwell. He said he suddenly felt a bit sleepy, not sure if it was because he hadn't slept well last night. I said it might be because he wore himself out helping me this morning. I told him to lean against the sofa and rest for a while. Before long, Vincent had fallen into a deep sleep. I found Vincent's phone on him and unlocked it with his fingerprint. I also changed the unlock password on Vincent's phone. To prevent future trouble, I have to know my prey 100%. And the best way to understand someone is through their phone. I was astonished to discover that Vincent was actually a thief. In Vincent's phone chat history, I found messages of him and his colleagues sharing information about clients. I also went through their WeChat moments one by one. To my surprise, I even recognized a few acquaintances. You really can't judge a book by its cover. Since Vincent is a thief too, that suits me perfectly. I really have a knack for running into thieves. Vincent had already fainted. I decided to hide him first. Because today was Saturday, I had also invited Gary over to the house to drink red wine. I hid Vincent in the closet. At this moment, Vincent was like a puddle of rotten mud. If I let him stay curled up like that, once the corpse stiffened, it would make dismemberment much harder. Because dismemberment requires technique too, different parts are processed into different kinds of fertilizer for the flowers. Every piece must be sorted and categorized. So I looped a length of rope around Vincent's neck and hung him from the wardrobe rail. That way the corpse would remain perfectly straight, and he'd be sure to be completely dead. Next, I tidied the room again. I cleaned the wine glasses and put them back in their places. Everything was ready. Now I just waited for Gary to deliver. But before that, I still have to go out once. The sleeping pills at home were used up just now when I killed Vincent. I have to go out and buy another bottle. I had just arrived at the pharmacy to buy the pills when, suddenly, the home surveillance sent a notification through the phone's cloud. Someone had entered my apartment. From the security footage, I saw it was a person wearing a hat, mask, gloves, and shoe covers. With that furtive demeanor and that get-up, I was very familiar with the sight. Another thief. I suddenly remembered that when I left just now, out of habit, I hadn't taken the flyer from the doorknob. But that was perfect. I just gained another prey. Today really is a good day. The prey are all starting to deliver themselves in groups. This one in the room, plus Vincent in the closet, and Gary who's about to arrive. That makes 3. All right, everyone's here. Let's get to work. I'd better hurry up. I left the pharmacy and headed straight home. All the way, I kept watching the prey's movements in real time through the phone surveillance. He was fairly professional and quickly found the jewelry box in the bedside table. Just as he reached out to take the jewelry box, suddenly, I saw a wolf head tattoo on his arm. I was all too familiar with that tattoo because I had just seen it not long ago. To be precise, I had seen it on Vincent's WeChat moments. I quickly pulled Vincent's phone out of my pocket to confirm. That's right, he was a colleague of Vincent. The name Vincent had noted for him was Leo. Leo swept all the jewelry out of the box. Those were the spoils I had ransacked for my first love female co-worker. My first love is gone, and only these few pieces of jewelry remain as mementos. I can't let this guy get away with them so easily. I have to hurry back and cut him off. If I let the prey delivered to my door run off with the jewelry I treasure, that would be a huge loss. When I reached my front door and used the key to unlock it, I saw in the surveillance footage that Leo had hidden himself in the closet. All right, then, you and your good buddy are holed up together. Now I definitely can't let you leave. After entering, I acted nonchalant, set down my leather bag, and changed into slippers. I took off my coat and hung it on the drying rack. Then I walked straight to the wardrobe. I needed to change into a more comfortable jacket. That way it would be easier to move once I got to work. At the same time, I also wanted to give Leo in the closet a little scare. I saw from a surveillance that Leo was hiding on the right side of the wardrobe, so I deliberately opened the left sliding door. I didn't intentionally look at him, but in the corner of my eye caught that he seemed to be crouching. He must have been terrified. If he had seen Vincent's corpse, I wonder if he would have been so frightened he'd wet himself. I took a casual jacket from the closet and put it on. As I shut the closet door, I locked it. You like hiding in closets, don't you? Then just stay in there. I got a much better show in store for you later. Yes, my closet door is fitted with a lock, because the wardrobe often liked to hide people. I went into the kitchen and washed an apple for myself. I've been busy all day and hadn't eaten anything. I felt a bit hungry. But that was fine, it worked as a kind of diet. I can't let my figure go with this outfit on. But I'll still start by filling my stomach with an apple. After all, there's plenty to do later. I turned on the TV and sat down on the sofa. A gardening and flower care program was still playing on the television. I really love watching this show. I wonder if Leo in the closet is feeling bored. Maybe I'll tease him a bit. Toying with prey in the palm of my hand is one of life's greatest pleasures. Without showing any emotion, I took Vincent's phone out of my pocket. I sent a text to Leo in Vincent's name. I had intended only to scare Leo. I didn't expect Leo to reply right away. He sent Vincent to help him out of trouble. It seems, then, that up to now Leo hasn't discovered Vincent's corpse. Makes sense, the wardrobe was so dark and hung full of clothes, and I had hung Vincent all the way in the back. Leo clumsily hid in the wardrobe, and it would be normal for him not to notice Vincent for a while. This is getting more and more fun. I tucked my phone beside me, eating an apple while continuing to text Leo under Vincent's name. Leo actually sent a candid side photo of me taken from inside the closet. I have to admit, I look pretty photogenic. I'm very satisfied with today's makeup. I look absolutely stunning in the photos. It's just that my chin seems to have gained a little roundness. Looks like I really need to pay attention to losing weight. I glanced at the apple in my hand and decided not to eat it after all. I'll just throw it away later. I kept texting Leo. I teased him about whether he was thinking of losing both people and money. But Leo was busy getting Vincent to bail him out. He wasn't in the mood to think about anything else right now. Fine, I won't play with you for the time being. My next prey will be here soon. I need to get ready. I tossed the apple aside, stood up and walked to the liquor cabinet, took out the 2 wine glasses again, and poured 2 glasses of red wine. I repeated my old trick and poured sleeping pills into one of the glasses. I've lost count of how many times I've done this. This trick never fails. I set 2 glasses of wine on the coffee table, then glanced at my watch. Gary should be here by now. Just then, there was a knock at the door. I looked toward the door and adjusted my posture. Then I walked over slowly and opened the door. Gary stood in the doorway, and sure enough, he was holding a bouquet of roses. He looked at me with a beaming smile. "Jade, you've been waiting for me a long time, haven't you?" Gary handed me the flowers. I pretended to be coy as I led him into the house. "Coming quickly, I just bought some red wine. Come try it." As I pulled him inside, I casually locked the door with the key. I linked my arm with Gary's and walked to the table. Then I handed him the glass of red wine that contained the sleeping pills. Gary drank the wine in one gulp, then started feeling me up. This guy's a little too impatient. I shoved and pushed, and it took a lot of effort before his drug kicked in and he fell into a stupor. I dragged a very large plastic tub over from the kitchen. I placed the plastic tub at the foot of the bed, positioned just across in front of the wardrobe door. Then I shoved Gary into the tank and stripped his clothes off. I also fetched a chainsaw and a kitchen knife. Then, in front of Leo, who was in the closet, I dismembered Gary. The buzzing of the chainsaw invigorated me. The mangled, bloody liquid in the vat exhilarated me. I sorted the reduced body parts into plastic bags by category. Then I put them, one bag at a time, into the freezer on the balcony. I waited until I had finished dealing with the other 2 victims. Then I could sort those body parts into jars by category. Then add the proper amount of water, fermenting agents, catalysts, and other substances, and everything would be complete. Now, I was going to start processing the catch in the wardrobe. I wondered how Leo in the wardrobe would react to this feast of dissection. I decided to tease him one more time. I once again sent him a text using Vincent's phone. Leo replied quickly. He still hadn't discovered Vincent's corpse. This guy's way too stupid. He asked where Vincent was, and I replied that he had already arrived. He asked where Vincent was, and I replied that he was right above his head. I heard some movement coming from a closet. At this moment, he must have been scared enough to wet himself. I held the chainsaw and slowly approached the wardrobe door. I pressed my eye to the crack in the door and took a look. At that moment, Leo and I finally made eye contact. I started the chainsaw and slid the blade through the door crack. The saw blade went straight into Leo's body. Blood splashed everywhere. I heard a groan from inside the wardrobe. At the bottom of the wardrobe, A large amount of blood soon began to flow out. I turned off the chainsaw and opened the latch on the wardrobe door. I couldn't wait to open the closet door to see what was inside. Just then, the phone in my pocket vibrated slightly. I took it out and saw that Vincent's phone had received a text message. I opened it, and to my surprise, it was from Leo. The message contained only 4 characters. Your turn. Suddenly, I felt a sharp sting in my throat. A sharp dagger stabbed through the gap in the closet door and drove into my throat. I spit blood and fell to the ground. I watched as the wardrobe door in front of me was slowly pushed open. A person stepped out of the wardrobe. He held a dagger in his right hand and Leo's phone in his left. It was Vincent. He's not dead yet. My name is Vincent. Vincent is my alias. I'm a thief. Actually, I only disguise myself as a thief. I have only one purpose for being here. That's to take revenge for my friends. The friends I speak of are not human. They're a group of old, weak, sick, and disabled stray dogs. Yes, I'm taking revenge for the pack of stray dogs I adopted. I know this sounds absurd and ridiculous, but this is the true picture of my inner self. I am an ordinary wage earner, doing a job that's neither high nor low. I don't have any ambitions. I don't curry favor, and I don't seek promotions or raises. To me, I just go to and from work on time every day, then pass the time eating and waiting to die, living a slacker's life. I'm reclusive and don't fit in. I don't have many friends around me. When colleagues ask me to join dinners, I always make various excuses to get out of it. I'd rather ride my little electric scooter and feel the cold wind on an empty street. Others say I have social anxiety, that it's a sickness, but actually I just like being alone. Because when I'm alone, I don't have to watch people's faces. I don't have to say things I don't want to say. I don't have to see people I don't want to see. In short, when I'm alone, I'm free. I just like this feeling of ease. This feeling disappears in an instant when I run into someone I know. This feeling is infinitely amplified when I feed stray dogs on the street. Therefore, I like stray dogs. I treated them as friends. I rented an earthen-walled yard in the suburbs specifically to take in stray dogs. Most of them were local mongrels, and most were old, weak, sick, or disabled. I would come to the yard for a while every day after work. I will bring them food. I can play with them without worrying about appearances. I can chase them all over the yard like a child and play hide-and-seek with them. Doing these things doesn't mean I'm especially compassionate. I simply enjoyed being with the stray dogs, the feeling of ease amplified without limit. But half a year ago, the dogs in the yard were all killed one after another. They killed my friends and destroyed the playground that was my spiritual refuge. I learned this through the surveillance on the courtyard wall and a long period of tracking and undercover observation. I discovered that there were 3 people who caused my dog's death. They were the flower shop owner Jade, the owner of Chuanxiang Dog Meat Shop, Gary, and the thief Leo. I also figured out each of their motives. Jade captured my dog to make her homemade flower fertilizer, and I also found out that this person was actually a man disguised as a woman. Gary stole my dog and turned it into dog meat for people to eat. Leo, because he kept getting caught stealing in the neighborhood, my dog always alerted the nearby villagers, harbored a grudge, and poisoned my dog to kill it. Although I have evidence of their wrongdoing, I also considered calling the police, but the law won't let people make dogs pay for their lives. I thought about holding back too. I told myself they were just a bunch of stray dogs nobody cared about. But I found I couldn't hold back. Other people didn't care about them, I did. To me, they weren't simply a pack of strays. They were each a living, breathing life. They're my dearest friends. It felt like a thorn had been plunged into my heart. The more I endured, the more it hurt. I wanted to avenge them. I actually wanted to take revenge for a pack of dogs. Maybe I really am sick. But no matter what, I'm going to take revenge on them. 6 months later, I began my operation. I won't act blindly. I'll first familiarize myself with each of their habits and lifestyles. Then I came up with a foolproof plan, a plan that would both exact revenge and get me out of danger. I took an extended leave from work. Then my first move was to find Leo. To gain his trust, I disguised myself as someone in his line of work. I told him my name was Vincent, I changed my SIM card and WeChat account to new numbers without real name verification by using certain special methods. I used a completely fictional identity. After getting close with Leo, we also started sharing clients with each other. Of course, I never truly became a thief. It was all just for show. Then I began tailing Gary, and I discovered that every few days he would go to the flower shop. I also discovered that Gary seemed to have some kind of ambiguous relationship with the flower shop owner, Jade. He actually didn't know that Jade was a man dressed as a woman. A few days ago, I even overheard their conversation in front of the flower shop. I heard Jade invite Gary to his house for wine on Saturday. Finally, I focused my attention on the flower shop owner, Jade. A man who dresses as a woman and likes to make flower fertilizer out of animal carcasses is definitely not simple. I began tailing Jade every day, and I discovered that he lived upstairs from the flower shop in room 201. That day I hid in the hallway and just happened to run into him as he was leaving. One of his odd behaviors caught my attention. There was a flyer stuck to his doorknob. He clearly saw it, but didn't take it. Instead, he deliberately wedged the flyer in tighter. Though not everyone knows that thieves often use flyers to case a place. But he clearly saw the flyer and deliberately didn't take it. That's definitely not the behavior of a normal person. Could it be that this is some kind of trap he set? And this kind of trap could only be useful against thieves. So I started looking for clues in the flower shop again. I went there as an ordinary customer. I bought a few newly stocked potted plants in the shop. Later I found some tiny remnants of dog hair in the soil of the pots. Based on the time my dog was killed, I think these flowers and plants were probably grown using fertilizer made from their corpses. Thinking of this, my heart trembled slightly. Suddenly, I felt something new. As long as I bought all these flowers, it seemed that I would, in a way, be bringing my old friends back home. So I really did it. I bought all the newly stocked flowers. Later, I made an even more astonishing discovery. In the soil of one of the pots, I found an earring stud. I recognized that earring. The owner of the earring was also a thief. I saw the owner of this earring share a photo of his earring in Leo's WeChat moments. I had heard Leo mention that the owner of the earring had gone missing 6 months ago, and yet his earring actually turned up in the potting soil at Jade Flower Shop. Considering Jade's habit of not taking down flyers from doorknobs, I can almost be certain that he was hunting thieves and turning their bones into fertilizer for his flowers. I never expected he would be a perverted killer, and he even invited Gary to his house on Saturday. Gary is very likely his next target. If that's the case, if I also lure Leo into his home, wouldn't that mean I could kill with someone else's hands? 3 days ago, I found Leo. I told him he could develop his business in Building 4 of GUN Complex. Leo went that same day. As usual, he slipped flyers onto the doorknobs of every household, so he could precisely target 201. I collected all the flyers from the doorknobs of the other residents in the building. I know Leo's habit. Today is the 3rd day since the flyers went out, so he'd definitely make his move. All I had to do was wait and watch the show. In the morning, I came to the flower shop as usual. I asked Jade if any new flowers had arrived. He said not for the time being. He invited me up to his apartment to thank me for always taking care of his business. I smiled when I heard that and immediately agreed. He actually took me for one of his prey. However, I had long since already taken him for my prey. Today was destined to be an extraordinary day. I followed Jade upstairs. After we entered the room, Jade told me to watch TV for a while. A gardening and flower cultivation program was playing on the television. He said he liked watching this kind of show the most. I politely complimented him on being very artsy. Then I began to study the layout of the room. As a killer, Jade must have had places to hide bodies, right? He treated the thief as prey. There should have been cameras installed in the house. Right, I saw a very large freezer on the balcony. I also found a camera in the flower pot beside the sofa. While I was watching TV, Jade went to pour 2 glasses of red wine. I pretended to be watching TV, but I was actually paying attention to his every move. I secretly saw Jade pour sleeping pills into one of the glasses. Then she handed me the glass laced with the sleeping pills. Fine, then I'll play the part all the way. I took a sip immediately. I made a swallowing motion, but I didn't actually swallow. I kept nodding, indicating that it tasted good. He smiled with satisfaction. He told me to drink slowly, then went to the kitchen to wash some fruit. I knew he was actually going to prepare the tools for the crime. While he was gone in that interval, I carried my glass around to the back of the camera in the flower pot. Then I slowly poured the wine away. I didn't pour it all out. After all, it's unlikely a normal person would be able to drink it all in one go. Soon, Jade came out of the kitchen carrying fruit. I pretended to be listless. He asked if I was feeling unwell. I said I suddenly felt sleepy, not sure if I hadn't slept well last night. He told me to rest against the sofa for a while. Before long, I pretended to fall asleep. Jade found my phone on me and unlocked it with my fingerprint. He also changed the phone's unlock password. He began looking through my phone. He wanted to learn about my details. Unfortunately, what he saw were all the profiles I had faked. Jade must have already realized I'm a thief, right? Because Gary is coming today too, Jade probably won't do anything to me for the time being. Just as I thought, he hid me in the wardrobe. Maybe he was afraid I would wake up halfway through. He used a length of rope to strangle my neck, then hung me from the clothes rail. Then he closed the wardrobe door. Then he tidied up the room again. Then he left. Because there were cameras in the room, I could only stay hiding in the wardrobe the whole time. Jade had only just left. I heard the door open again. Through the gap in the wardrobe door, I saw someone wearing a hat, mask, gloves, and shoe covers walk into the room. I recognized him at once. It was Leo. Leo quickly surveyed the layout of the room, then began to move. Before long, he found the jewelry box in the bedside table. Leo cleared out the jewelry from the box. Just as he was about to leave, the sound of a key turning in the door came from the entrance. Jade is back. Timing that precise, she must have been watching the monitors the whole time. In a panic, Leo hid in the wardrobe, and he hid on my side. All right, there was no other choice. After all, this was the only place in the whole room where someone could hide. Luckily, the wardrobe was full of clothes, and I used them as much as possible to cover my body. Leo didn't notice me. Leo crouched down. He squatted, because the wardrobe was in the corner and faced directly toward the doorway. Through the seam of the wardrobe door, we could just see the situation in the whole room. I was looking from above, while Leo was looking from below. After Jade entered the room, she acted as if nothing had happened. She set down her purse and changed into slippers. He took off his coat and hung it on the drying rack. Then he walked straight toward the wardrobe. Jade probably just wanted to scare Leo, because he had opened the left sliding door of the wardrobe. Jade took a casual jacket from the wardrobe and put it on. Then he closed the wardrobe door. I heard the wardrobe door click shut. Leo must have been terrified a moment ago, because I saw him furtively wiping the cold sweat from his forehead. If he realized I was right behind him, I wonder if he'd pee himself. Jade went into the kitchen and washed an apple for herself. Then she turned on the TV and sat down on the sofa. A gardening and flower care program was still playing on the television. I hid behind Leo, hardly daring to breathe. If he discovered me, it would be very bad. It reminded me of the time I used to play hide-and-seek with the stray dogs in the yard. Just then, Leo's phone received a text message. He slowly took out his phone and glanced at it. I also quietly bent over and took a look. It turned out to be sent by me. I remembered that Jade had taken my phone. I hurriedly peeked through the crack in the door to glance at Jade on the sofa. Although he was turned to the side, he was still watching TV. But his darting eyes and the little movements of his hands couldn't escape my notice. I have to admit, this guy knows how to play better than I do. Leo quickly replied to my message. He asked me to help him cover things up. Leo even used his phone through the wardrobe door crack to take a photo of Jade sitting on the sofa and sent it to me. And Jade on the sofa actually teased Leo, asking if he'd considered losing both the money and the person. This is playing with fire. I couldn't help but almost laugh. Jade tossed the uneaten apple. Then he stood up, walked to the liquor cabinet, took out 2 wine glasses, and poured 2 glasses of red wine. Just as he had done to me before, he poured sleeping pills into one of the glasses. Jade placed the 2 glasses on the coffee table, then looked at his watch. He was waiting for Gary. At that moment, there was a knock at the door. Jade looked toward the door and paused for about 2 seconds. Then she slowly walked over and opened the door. Gary was standing in the doorway. He was still holding a bouquet of roses, smiling as he looked at Jade. As Jade pulled Gary into the room, I noticed that he casually used the key to deadbolt the door. Jade linked arms with Gary and led him to the table. Then she handed the glass of red wine containing the sleeping pills into Gary's hand. Gary drained the red wine in one gulp, then began groping Jade. I hid in the cabinet, my feelings a chaotic mix. I had to play dead, avoid Leo downstairs, and keep an eye on the two people outside. This is really putting me in a bind. Before long, Gary finally fell into a deep sleep. Jade dragged a very large plastic tub from the kitchen. Jade placed the plastic tub at the foot of the bed, directly across in front of the wardrobe door. Then Jade shoved Gary into the vat and stripped the clothes off him. Jade also fetched a chainsaw and a kitchen knife. The next scene is something I will never forget. Jade dismembered Gary almost right before Leo's in my eyes. Jade packed the resized pieces of corpse into plastic bags. Then she put them into the freezer on the balcony, one bag after another. At that moment, the crouching Leo finally started to lose control. He tried to push open the wardrobe door to escape from here. Unfortunately, the wardrobe door had long been locked by Jade. Just then, Leo's phone received another text from me. Outside, Jade had started teasing Leo again. I bent down and kept looking at Leo's phone screen. Leo asked me where I was. I replied that I had already arrived. Leo asked where I was. I replied from above your head. After reading it, Leo's whole body visibly trembled. He suddenly lifted his head. Since the atmosphere had been built up to this point, then I'll cooperate with Jade and put on another show. I deliberately opened my eyes wide in anger and gaped my mouth. With an extremely twisted expression, I glared at Leo beneath me. Leo was so scared he peed himself. He really peed himself. He frantically took the self-defense knife out of his pocket. At that moment, Jade outside also arrived at the wardrobe door. He started the chainsaw again and pushed the blade through the crack in the door. The saw blade drove straight into Leo's body. Blood sprayed everywhere, accompanied by Leo's groan. At the bottom of the wardrobe, a large amount of blood soon flowed out. Jade turned off the chainsaw, then unlocked the wardrobe door. He couldn't wait to open the wardrobe door to see what was inside. This time, I wanted to tease Jade once. I used Leo's phone to send a text to my phone. The message had only 4 characters. Your turn. Jade had just finished reading the text message when I, in the blink of an eye, slipped Leo's dagger through the crack of the door and plunged it into his throat. Jade spat blood and fell to the ground. I slowly opened the wardrobe door. I held the dagger in my right hand and Leo's phone in my left. The real hunter, it's time to make an appearance. I removed my fingerprints from the dagger, then placed the dagger into Leo's hand inside the wardrobe. Using Jade's phone, I began to review the surveillance footage from the house. Jade kept all of the past surveillance records. I saw many scenes of Jade dismembering people in the past. I also saw the scene of him killing my dog. I couldn't bear to watch anymore. I found the footage that showed me, then deleted it from every source in sync. The remaining surveillance footage will be the gift I leave for the police. I helped the police catch a serial killer. A few days later, I took fake sick leave from work. I was once again just an ordinary wage worker. I continued doing that job that was neither high nor low. After work every day, I still went to linger for a while in that earthen-walled courtyard. I also continued taking in new stray dogs. I also placed all the flowers I bought from Jade into this courtyard. Most of these flowers were cultivated by my old friends. Although my old friends have all passed away, yet looking at the courtyard full of blooms and plants, I felt as if they had all returned. Only, it was in a different way. They were no longer the old, weak, sick, or disabled. They became colorful, blooming toward the sun. Returning to my job, I was no longer withdrawn. I began trying to fit in, try to make friends. Since my old friends were all living in a different way, then I, too, would live in a different way.